Are you using food to cope with your emotions? We're going to talk about it on today's podcast. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a ballroom dance professional, a life coach, and a peak performance expert. I'm part of a group of motivated people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We've realized life is a dance. The ups and downs can spin you out of your mind, but it's time to take back control. It's time to become a lifer. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. We are a new breed of overachievers. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our full potential is the key. Welcome to the journey. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life. What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast. I'm so glad you joined me again today. And we are going to talk about a subject that is a little rough, little tough, right? So bear with me and hang on tight because really, again, just some tough love and some experience. I deal and talk about emotions a lot. In case you haven't noticed, if this is your first time here to the podcast, thank you so much for showing up. But I talk about emotions a lot. So I'm so glad you're here to join me. And today we're going to talk about this idea of using food to cope with an emotion. Guys, there are about 15 billion diets out there that you could take on: the paleo diet, the keto diet, the Weight Watchers diet, and I'm not dogging on any of them. They all work. They all work for somebody, or you wouldn't know about them. But the thing is all of us have different bodies. All of us have different experiences. In fact, here's the thing. You could actually do it without actually doing any of that. Now, I'm not saying you should. Each of you will have a different need for your body. We all have a very unique and individual body, and we have to figure out individually what is going to work best for us. And right now, I've experienced that. I never actually thought I would ever have to diet or change my eating habits in my life. I weighed 140 pounds all the way through my competitive dancing career. And then after I retired from competing 2 years later, I gained 20 pounds and I felt huge. I was 160 and I felt huge. Nobody thought I was huge, but I felt huge. Then I forgot about it. And I kept with my bad eating habits and kept eating for the wrong reasons and eating not so great things. And so ultimately, up until recently, maybe about 5 months ago, I got up to about 200 pounds. Now, for me, 200 pounds was way out of range for where I should have been and where I wanted to be. And so that's the challenge, right? I got to a point where I was clearly not in a good place with my body. And so I had to figure out what to do with it. And I had been looking at it because you know how you do. You look in the background, you're like, oh, that might be a good diet for me to go on, or that might be a good diet. And what we have to realize is that it's hugely connected to emotions. Guys, it's connected to emotions. Why? Because, well, in case you haven't heard me say it, everything is connected to emotions. You start from wanting to feel a way, and then you work yourself out, and it all starts there, which is why I'm so passionate about emotions, because I love talking about the core of things. Right? You do things in your world because you want to feel. So you might have found this podcast. You might have found me for the first time right now, today, because you saw the title and you went, "Ooh, I got to change how I feel about that." So are you using food to cope with an emotion? You know what? A lot of us do. We are far from the days of just eating to eat, to survive. Right? We are now in a realm of time where, oh, something happened to us. And typically, let's get real, typically it's because something negative happened and we go, oh, I that made me feel bad. You know what will make me feel better? A nice double from In-N-Out. That'll make me feel better. And for some of you, maybe it does. Maybe it helps you change your state. But let's get real. Usually it's some negative emotion that you're trying to change your state to something else. And so you go to a comfort food. In fact, there's a whole type of food called comfort food. Yeah, how come we all know that? How come we know that there's this thing called comfort food? Well, because we eat it to feel better. but it's not the food. The food has no actual quality to it that makes you feel better. Now, what it does do is it does get your body changing. And so that we can agree on, and that we can say, hey, you know what? There are some chemical things, there are some physical things happening in the body to actually have you start to feel different, right? You eat and all the blood rushes to your stomach to help you digest, and your body does and takes the resources it needs to go get you there. And then maybe you feel a little sleepy, and then maybe you got a little nap coming on because you started to eat and it makes your body feel a certain way. Or maybe you ate something that had tons of sugar or caffeine and it brightened you up, and all of a sudden you got freaking crazy and you're like, yeah, it's because I ate that or drank that, and that's why I'm feeling this way. Because it changed your body chemically. And that may be some truth to that, right? But you also still had to participate. Mentally and emotionally, you still had to participate. And all it takes is one or two times of that food actually helping the process along, changing your physical state. And then all of a sudden you attached an emotional state to it. And now we're right on the way of the triangle. So if you haven't heard me talk about the triangle, well, you need to, right? We change our body, we change our mind, we change our soul, and we inspire our soul, essentially. So you do that enough times, you can actually anchor something in, and you don't even need to do all the parts. That's kind of crazy, but that's another conversation for another day. Usually, though, we eat to get out of a state, and we do eat because we're hungry, or because our body craves something, because we are deficient in a nutrient or something that our body needs. And so when you're hungry, your body starts calling and saying, I'm hungry, you gotta feed me, right? But sometimes that's not how it goes. Sometimes you're feeling bad and your comfort food, or your food that you have attached to an emotional state, is calling you, and you're like, I've got to have that chocolate cake. If I could just have some chocolate cake, I'd feel much better. And so we start eating in a way that helps us to feel a certain way. And sometimes the feelings, it's not like some like bright, crazy, like holy cow feeling. Sometimes it's just a feeling of contentness or calm or relaxed, or you put yourself into a state of zen, so to speak, a feeling of chill out kind of moment. Right? And so if you've done this before, and if you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're watching on iTunes, please comment down below and tell me, what is your comfort food? We all have them. We all have these foods, right? Or maybe even a drink, right? And hopefully the drink isn't like an alcoholic drink, because if it is, and that's the thing you're falling back to, that's also a problem, right? Because you're using something else to change your state. And this gives us insight, because we know that physically when we eat, it changes our physical state, and then we start to change the thought that's in our head, and we start to go that direction, right? And so yes, it does change us chemically, physically, an actual physical change, and then we start to change emotionally. But that is actually the key to changing your state. If you want to get excited, you're not going to be able to go like this. Now, if you're watching on video, if you're not watching on video, you need to go to YouTube and see, right? If I change my state and I go like this, and I go, I want to get excited. In fact, if I just zen here and focus, and I put my head down and curl over and hunch, if I can just chill, I'll get excited. Well, nothing like that's going to get you excited, guys. You cannot sit and change your state and your body physically to do that and get excited. It's not going to happen. You've got to change your body physically. You've got to act and move in such a way that your body goes, oh yeah, I remember how to be excited. So we know how to change our physical state. And then with a little practice, you can get excited easier. You can change to be happy by changing the physical state. And honestly, that is a sick way to do it. Like sick good, like sick like bubblegum, like my little JC says. You've got to find a way to practice this, right? Because if you're falling back on food, Man, that's dangerous. But you know what? You don't see any overweight people that have food allergies up the kazoo, right? Like if they have serious food allergies, or if they have some issues with their body not accepting lots of different types of food and they can't actually rely on food, they only look at food as something that hurts their body. So they eat something and they go, oh, that hurts me, I'm not going to eat that anymore. Oh, that hurts me, I'm not going to eat that. So people that have a ton of food allergies, or a ton of, or maybe some actual challenges with their body, you don't find them being overweight very often, right? Because if they don't like food, if they are going through pain every time they eat, they're likely to not be overweight. But when you're going through something that feels good, or when the food is the thing that induces your physical state so that you can actually change how you feel about it, or how you're feeling in the moment, well, then it gets really dangerous, right? And it could be a food or a drink or something along those lines. And when those vices for us start to become a habit because we've anchored them in, because we've done them so many times, we run into a serious challenge, because now you're using that food, like I said, to change your state. And as soon as you do that, and you're not doing it because you chose to, that's when we get into trouble, right? So let's take a moment right now. Let's take a moment right now to just figure it out. Let's have a really honest assessment right now. What is it that you eat to feel a different way? If you're brave, comment down below. If you want to start to get over it, if you want to hold yourself to some accountability, comment down below and write, I use this food to feel a way. And you know what's interesting is all of our emotional states we've attached food to. If you have read my book, it came out this year, or this last year, actually. Last year, well, yeah, because we're kind of in the middle of this next crossover, right? But if you read my book, we talk about that. We talk about those little things. In fact, I do a walkthrough of when I was leading somebody through some emotional crayons, and that's one of the processes I teach. Right. So if you haven't got a copy of my book, I'm still giving away free copies if you'd like one. You pay for the shipping, I'll pay for it for the book. Check it out. But we talk about this idea, and the idea that, hey, you have an experience and you remember something like happy, and you could think of happy. If you've followed the podcast, I did happy with you at one point, and I helped you practice it. But if you could think of an experience right now, do it right now, wherever you're at, think of that experience. If you had to close your eyes and really imagine it, think of an experience that was excited. Just think of an excited experience, something you can remember, something that's like an 8, a 7, 8, or 9 or 10, something high, right? In terms of the scale, right? A scale of 1 to 10. And when you think of that, what I want you to do is I want you to think about where you're at, what you see, what you heard. Think about breathing that way. Do it right now. Start breathing that way, in the same way. Like you were excited, like you could hardly wait, like you could just, like it was like you were jumping out of your skin to do it, right? And as you do that, I want you to imagine very quickly, first thought, what food represents that experience? Not in that experience, not that you had to eat it in that experience, but what food represents that experience? What was it? You probably can think of it, and it's probably your first thought. It's a weird association, and your mind associates all sorts of things to each other. That's just how we learn. It's how we save and cut down on time as we have to navigate this crazy new world that's happening every day. So, what food was it for that excited experience? It's that simple. Right? But you can practice these, and you can actually utilize the fact that as you start to know what foods you're eating to manipulate your experience, to change your state, then you can start to at least say, okay, well, I use this food to feel calm. I use this food to feel relaxed. Well, is relaxed what you were really trying to feel, or were you trying to feel happy, or were you trying to feel safe and secure? What were you trying to feel? If you can identify what you were trying to feel by eating that food, then you can actually start to practice that feeling, practice that emotion. And if you practice it, that means you could turn it on anytime you'd like, and you don't have to eat to feel that way. And eating is great, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. So I am not judging, okay, guys? This is not me judging you. It's not my place to do that. Okay, we all have done it, and we all do it. But all I'm saying is that if you can actually take back control and get some metacognition, whoa, big words, right? Metacognition just means that you're self-aware. If you can gain some self-awareness and go, yeah, you know what? I wanted to go get some ice cream because I wanted to feel this way. Well, maybe you should feel that way first, then go get the ice cream. Right? And you hear it so many times. Oh, you just broke up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Let's go get some ice cream and let's have a pint of ice cream and we'll eat our sorrows away. Oh my gosh, until you're dead sick. We've done that. You've done that. You might have even done it drinking or doing something that really was harmful to your body. But it's time to stop. It's time to stop using food to cope with an emotion. It's time to start to learn and practice coping with that emotion. And sometimes it's about learning to do a different emotion, learning to do the emotion that you would like to feel instead of eating. Okay, and I'm not judging. Again, I had to go through my own thing too, right? And I know it's hard to imagine because you see me right now, but I was at 200 pounds and I was like, that is enough. That is enough. I've got to stop that. So I got a plan and I decided to start dealing with what I needed to deal with. And it's different for all of us. It's different for each and every one of us, what we're going through. And so a diet might help, but it might not last. And it might not last because the diet, it might not actually be anything wrong with the diet. It might just be that what's wrong is here and here, right? In the mind and in the soul. And so it's time to start practicing coping with your emotions by doing something different. If you need help, let me know. Info@Majic for Life will send you some information that will help you. Go check out my book at everyminutebook.com. It's free, for goodness sakes. Can't make it any better than that, right? It's free. You pay for the shipping. We'll get you out one right away. All right. And if you really want to take it to the next level, let us know. We have some sweet programs that we can help you with. But you know what? That's up to you. I'd love to hear from you. Comment down below. What emotion are you going to try to start practicing instead of using food to cope with that emotion? I challenge you to start taking that on today. You can do it. And if you know somebody that needs this, please share it with them. Pass it on. Guys, it's time we take back our life. Take back control. You are responsible for how you feel and what you do. And I'd love to help you along that journey. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Share this with somebody that needs to hear it. And don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so that you can hear more of the amazing content that we're putting out on the Majic for Life podcast. We'll see you at the next podcast. Take care.
Hey lifers, we expect upgrades to the base operating functions of the things like our phones, cars, and even refrigerators. Why then has it not been made a priority that we upgrade the operating systems of our emotional states? We dance around the subject of emotional mastery from a young age. We have so much more knowledge in today's world, yet we're still teaching outdated methods of emotional education, if any are being taught at all. It's time for a change. It's time for an upgrade to our emotional education. Let me help you learn how to do that. Pick up your free copy of Every Minute at everyminutebook.com.